The scratch on the brass deadbolt was too clean to be old. That was the first thing I saw when Vivian Perez turned her key in the front door and smiled like nothing was wrong. The street behind us was quiet, the kind of suburban quiet that made every small sound stand out. A porch swing creaked somewhere across the road. A sprinkler clicked behind a hedge. The last of the charity party music still seemed to follow us in the air, softened by distance and October cold. Vivian stood under the warm entryway light, one hand on the door, the other holding a small black purse against her side. She wore a cream cardigan over a modest floral dress, polished enough for the party, practical enough for the chilly walk home. Her PR smile was perfect, calm, gracious, built for donors, reporters, board members, and anyone else who needed to believe the room was under control. But her thumb tapped twice against her index finger. Then again, I had seen that tell before. 3 years of corporate security work for the firm had taught me to notice what people tried to hide. Vivian Perez was our PR director, the woman who could walk into a hostile press room and lower the temperature with one sentence. She was precise, elegant, and impossible to corner in public. Tonight, at her own front door, she looked like a woman trying not to listen for footsteps. "Thank you for walking me home." "Marcus," she said, "you didn't have to wait while I unlocked the door." "Standard protocol," I said. Her smile tightened. "You're off duty." "No, I'm out of the office." I pointed to the deadbolt plate without stepping closer. "Those tool marks are fresh." The smile disappeared. For 1 second, the entire entryway changed. The lamp, the staircase, the round mirror on the wall, the small table with flowers and mail, everything that should have made the house feel safe suddenly looked staged around a compromised door. Vivian looked at the scratch, then back at me. "It might be from my key." "No," I said gently. "Key's where the inside of the cylinder. This is pressure from outside." Her hand tightened around the purse. Behind her, the house was warm and quiet. Too quiet. A half-full ceramic mug sat on the console table beside the mirror, chipped on the handle. Chamomile tea. Probably cold by now. She had been nervous before the party. She had left nervous, and now I knew why. "Has someone contacted you?" I asked. Her face closed too quickly. That was answer enough. "Vivian," I said, keeping my hands visible, "I won't come inside unless you want me to. I can wait on the porch while you call someone. I can call local police with you, or I can check the entry points if you approve it." Her eyes moved to my hands, not my face. My hands. People in fear watch what power might do before they listen to what power says. So I stayed still. Finally, she opened the door wider. "May I ask you to check?" "Yes." I stepped inside only after she moved back. The house smelled faintly of lavender, lemon cleaner, and cold tea. The living room lights were on. A laptop rested closed on the coffee table. The staircase rose to the right, casting long shadows on the wall. I checked the front door first. Fresh tool marks. No full entry there. Kitchen door next. Locked. Dining room windows. Latched. Then the back patio. The glass door was closed, but the latch was not fully engaged. Not forced. Not broken. Just left in the almost locked position people missed when they were distracted, or when someone had tested it. I photographed the track and latch with my phone, preserving timestamp and location metadata. I did not touch the handle until I had the images. Vivian stood in the kitchen doorway watching me. "They didn't take anything," she said. "This wasn't a burglary." Her jaw tightened. "I know. That changed the shape of the room. You know?" She looked toward the chipped mug on the counter. "The emails started 6 weeks ago. At first, they were vague. Then they got specific. What I wore to meetings. Which route I drove. When I stopped for coffee." She folded her arms across her cardigan. I told myself it was a disgruntled vendor trying to scare me before the merger announcement. "The merger your firm is closing next month?" She nodded. "If this becomes public, the story changes." It won't be about corporate stability anymore. It will be about whether the PR director can manage her own crisis. There were the locks, reputation, career, a major merger, a predator who understood timing. Who else knows? I asked. My assistant knows about the first 2 emails. Legal saw one. I downplayed the rest. I looked at the deadbolt again. And tonight, her thumb started tapping again. I got one during the party. She took out her phone and turned the screen toward me without handing it over. Unknown sender. Nice speech. You should have let him walk you all the way inside. The message had arrived 7 minutes before we reached the porch. I took a photo of the screen with my own device. Don't reply. I said. I wasn't going to. I'm saying it so the room has a rule. She looked at me for a long moment. Then she gave one short, unsteady laugh. You always sound like you're building a perimeter. I usually am. I set my phone face down on the counter. Here's what I recommend. Private residential security assessment. Not off book. Private. You authorize it in writing. I document everything. If we find physical proximity or a direct threat, we file with police and corporate legal. You review every step before I submit anything. She exhaled slowly. You want paperwork. I want protection that survives questions. For the first time that night, some of the tension left her shoulders. Good, she said. I'm tired of being protected by silence. I opened my security case and took out a temporary door brace, a small camera, and a written consent form I carried for emergency residential assessments. Vivian read every line. Good. Then she signed. Only after that did I begin. By midnight, the house had stopped feeling blind. I replaced the compromised brass deadbolt with a reinforced temporary cylinder, installed a small exterior camera above the porch, and secured the patio latch with a removable lock. I showed Vivian every change before I made it. I gave her the admin credentials. She changed the password herself. When the new deadbolt clicked shut, she closed her eyes for half a second. The sound was heavy, clean, a line drawn where the old one had failed. I handed her the key. You turn it, I said. She looked surprised. Why? It's your door. She slid the key into the lock and turned it. The bolt snapped into place. Her fingers stayed on the key for 1 extra second before she let go. The next 2 weeks created a rhythm neither of us named. At the office, we passed each other like professionals. She moved through glass conference rooms in tailored blazers, crisis statements in one hand, merger notes in the other. I stood behind executives, reviewed access logs, ran risk assessments, and pretended I was not aware of exactly how much sleep she had lost by the angle of her shoulders. At night, I went to her house with authorization, with documentation, with boundaries so clear I could breathe inside them. I reinforced the back door frame. I installed 2 more cameras angled away from neighboring windows. I reviewed her router settings after Nora Chen from legal and Devin Blake from IT both signed off on the limited monitoring scope. No private messages, no personal browsing, only incoming threat headers, login attempts, and camera-triggered access events. Vivian insisted on watching the setup. She sat at the kitchen island with her chipped chamomile mug, cardigan sleeves pulled over her hands, asking questions that got sharper as her fear lost ground. You measure the frame 3 times, she said one night. Wood swells. If the bolt catches, people stop using the lock. Security relies on habit, and you don't trust people to keep habits. I trust systems that forgive bad days. She looked down into her tea. My ex-fiancé remembered everything. Birthdays, passwords, security questions. He used that memory to empty 2 accounts when I left him. She tapped the chipped handle once. I spent 3 years rebuilding my life quietly because I didn't want the firm to question my judgment. The drill in my hand went still. There it was, the old wound under the new threat. Not just fear, shame someone else had planted and left behind. I wanted to say something clean and comforting. Instead, I set the drill down and slid the new strike plate across the island. Hold this for a second. She blinked, then took it. I aligned the frame and marked the screw points. You're not the weak spot. I said, the system was... We patched the system. She looked at the strike plate in her hands. Then she placed it carefully beside the screws, as if setting down a piece of evidence. By the third night, the house felt different. Not safe enough. Never safe enough until the source was found. But less alone. Vivian started setting my tools in order without asking. Drill bits on the left, screws in the small ceramic dish, chamomile on the island. Exactly far enough from the laptop not to become a disaster. One night the old espresso machine in her kitchen hissed without warning, releasing steam like an angry animal. Vivian startled. I reached for my phone. She caught my expression and laughed. That's not a breach. That's Mr. Hiss. You named your espresso machine? It earned a name by threatening guests. Hostile appliance. Noted. She wrote Mr. Hiss on a sticky note and stuck it to the machine. The next morning, when I reviewed the camera feed, I found only a raccoon crossing the patio, like it owned the property. I labeled the clip, Unauthorized Gray Suspect. Vivian saw it and laughed into her tea. Small sounds like that mattered. Fear hated witnesses. So did healing. The first useful clue came from a mistake. Not mine. Theirs. On Monday morning, Vivian stood at the head of the merger communications meeting, presenting a response plan for the press rollout. I stood near the back wall beside Nora from legal, pretending to review a building access report while watching every face around the table. The CFO asked 3 questions designed to sound neutral and feel like accusation. Vivian answered all 3 without looking at her notes. A junior analyst from the investor relations team shifted uncomfortably when she mentioned clean message discipline. His name was Avery, 26, new, terrified of executives, and wearing the expression of someone who had seen something and hadn't decided whether surviving the meeting mattered more than saying it. After the room emptied, I stopped by the coffee station. Avery was there, stirring nothing into already black coffee. You saw something, I said. His spoon froze. I don't know what I saw. That's a better start than pretending you saw nothing. He glanced toward the conference room. Someone printed guest network credentials from the PR printer 2 weeks ago. Temporary event logins. I thought it was for the gala. Who? I didn't see the face, just the badge. He swallowed. Contractor badge. A V-team. The AV vendor. The same vendor that had been removed from a data compliance project 3 months ago after a technician copied files he had no authorization to touch. Did you tell anyone? Avery looked ashamed. I thought it was nothing. Most security failures began exactly there. Not with malice. With someone deciding a strange detail was too small to be worth trouble. I handed him my card. Write down the date, time, and what you remember. Send it to Nora. Don't exaggerate. Don't apologize. Facts are enough. He nodded. That afternoon, Devin pulled the printer logs with legal authorization. Temporary guest credentials had been printed at 7. 18 pages. On a Thursday. The user account belonged to a shared vendor profile, but the printer camera caught the hand collecting the page, not the face. The hand, a silver ring with a black square stone. Vivian saw the still frame and went very quiet. Evan Miller, she said. A V technician. She nodded. I terminated his contract after he copied client media lists. He said I ruined his reputation. Did he have access to your home? No. Then her eyes narrowed. But he worked the holiday donor event last year at my house. The fake kitchen photo. The old mug placement. The original image. A line connected. Not the whole case yet, but enough to stop calling it fog. The break came on Thursday afternoon. I was in my office reviewing a vendor background check when Vivienne called my secure line. Marcus. Her voice was too flat. That was worse than panic. I just forwarded you something. I opened the encrypted inbox. A photo loaded Vivian's kitchen island, her chipped ceramic mug, the new security case on the counter. The message below it read, "You can add locks." I can still see inside. My office seemed to narrow around the screen. When was this sent? 5 minutes ago. Where are you? In my car. Basement parking. I didn't want to go upstairs. I don't know who to look at. I'm coming down. Lock the doors. Keep the call open. I took the stairs. Running in an office building invites questions. I moved fast enough to make people step aside and calm enough to avoid panic. Her sedan was parked near the back wall. I approached from the front so she could see me. She unlocked the passenger door. Inside, the heater ran high, but she was shivering. "They got in," she said. All that work. And they got in. Not necessarily. I opened the photo on my tablet. May I compare it against the camera logs? Yes. I pulled the porch camera. No injury. Back patio. No injury. Router access. No unknown login. Smart lock. No event. Then I zoomed into the photo. The reflection in the kettle showed sunlight at the wrong angle. The mug sat on the left side of the island. For the last 2 weeks, Vivian had kept it near the sensor case on the right. This wasn't taken today, I said. She leaned closer. Her shoulder almost touched mine. I kept my eyes on the tablet. The light is wrong. The mug placement is wrong. The security case is from the first night, before I changed the layout. She stared. They had the photo already? Yes. And waited to use it, to make you believe the house had failed. She leaned back against the headrest. Her hands covered her face for 1 second before she lowered them. I hate that it worked. It worked for 4 minutes. That feels like too long. It isn't. Her eyes were bright, but no tears fell. She had spent years refusing people the satisfaction. Who has old photos of your kitchen? I asked. Friends? My assistant? Maybe vendors from the holiday event last year. She paused. Or my old phone cloud? Ex-fiancé? Possibly, but he's overseas now. Legal confirmed last year he wasn't accessing my accounts anymore. Then we don't assume. We test. I called Devin from IT on speaker with Vivian's approval. Nora from legal joined 3 minutes later. Vivian authorized a limited digital review. Cloud backup access logs, old device connections, and incoming threat email headers. Everything written, everything time-stamped. By 6:20 p.m. Devin found the route. The email had bounced through a proxy, but the origin touched the firm's internal guest network before sending. Someone in the building. Vivian sat up straighter. Who? Devin hesitated. Guest network device, registered under a temporary event login from last month. User label. M. Miller. Miller. Evan Miller, former contracted AV technician. Fired 3 months ago for data policy violations after Vivian signed the termination memo. Bitter enough to threaten, technical enough to hide, close enough to watch. Vivian's mouth went pale. He worked the party tonight? Yes, I said. And the museum gala tomorrow. I closed the tablet. Then tomorrow he thinks he gets a crowd. Her eyes lifted to mine. No, she said. Tomorrow we give him witnesses. The museum gala glittered like a room built to hide danger. 400 guests moved beneath glass ceilings and suspended art installations. Champagne trays drifted between black suits and evening dresses. Cameras flashed near the donor wall. Somewhere above us, lights reflected against the polished railings of the mezzanine. Vivian wore a dark green gown with a tailored black jacket over it, elegant and formal, without inviting attention to anything except her authority. Her hair was pinned back. Her smile was perfect again, but this time, I knew the difference. She was not pretending nothing was wrong. She was refusing to give fear the microphone. I stood near the grand staircase with an earpiece, a tablet, and a team that knew exactly what to watch. Devin monitored the guest network from the control room. Nora waited with a signed legal packet. Event security had Miller's photo and instructions not to confront until we had a direct action. At 10, 41. My tablet vibrated. Devon's message appeared. Internal Origin email just hit Vivian's inbox. Sending now. Vivian's phone buzzed across the room. She did not look at it. Good. I opened the captured header. Then the message. You look good in green. Stay away from the balcony edge. My gaze moved to the mezzanine. A man in a catering jacket stood near the service elevator, one hand low, phone angled down. Miller. He looked at Vivian, then at his screen, then toward the private hallway leading behind the VIP restrooms. The old instinct in me wanted to move alone and end it fast, but clean procedure mattered more than speed. Devon, I said into the mic, preserve header. Nora, release packet to event security. Team 2, close mezzanine exits. Do not touch him unless he tries to leave. I moved through the kitchen access corridor and reached the private hallway before Miller did. He stepped out of the alcove and stopped when he saw me. Marcus Ruiz, he said, with a bitter smile. Of course, Evan Miller. He slid his phone into his pocket. Private hallway. Event security area. You are not authorized beyond catering zone B. He scoffed. Vivian sends her guard dog now? I did not step closer. Men like Miller wanted proximity. Intimidation needed distance to collapse. Vivian authorized a legal review of the threat messages. I said, Devon from IT preserved the headers. Nora from legal has the packet. Event security has you on camera outside your assigned zone. Your device touched the internal guest network before the emails were sent. His face changed. Just once. Enough. You can't prove I sent anything. No. The packet proves enough for event removal, device preservation request, and police referral. The rest becomes easier when you keep talking. Behind him, 2 event security officers entered the hallway. Nora arrived beside me, calm and holding the folder. Mr. Miller, she said, you are being removed from the premises. Police have been called. You'll receive written notice through counsel. Do not contact Ms. Perez directly again. Miller looked past me. Vivian stood at the far end of the hall. I had not heard her approach. She did not look frightened. She looked finished. I signed your termination because you violated data policy, she said. I will sign the police statement because you chose to escalate. That is the last direct thing you get from me. Miller's jaw tightened. Event security moved in. He did not fight. Cowards often preferred shadows because public light made them small. 30 minutes later, police arrived at the loading dock. Not magically waiting, not conveniently staged. Called, briefed, and handed a packet with preserved headers, event footage, written authorizations, and a witness statement from Nora. Vivian gave her statement herself. Clear voice, steady hands. No one spoke for her. At 1:18 I walked her home again. The gala was over. Miller was removed, his access suspended, his device preserved pending warrant. And the firm had placed him on a no-contact order through counsel. Police had opened the file. Nora had already scheduled the morning restraining order petition. Vivian's house glowed softly at the end of the path. The brass deadbolt waited in the porch light. Not scratched now. Replaced. Reinforced. Hold. I stopped at the edge of the welcome mat. The system stays active. I said, you have admin rights. Devon will transfer monitoring to the firm's legal hold account until the order is granted. I'll send you the final checklist in the morning. Vivian entered the code. The deadbolt retracted with a solid click. She opened the door, then turned back. For 1 second, the first night returned. The entryway, the staircase, the chipped mug on the table, her hand on the door. Only this time, her smile reached her eyes. You're not leaving yet, Marcus. I stayed where I was. The immediate threat is handled. I know. Then you don't need a security consultant tonight. I know. She stepped aside, leaving the doorway open and the choice clear. That's why I'm asking as Vivian, not as a client, not because I'm afraid. Dinner is on the stove. Mr. Hiss tried to attack the kitchen again, and I don't want to eat alone after giving a police statement. The words settled in the warm light between us. No pressure, no hidden hook, no crisis pretending to be romance. Just a woman who had taken back her own house, asking me to come inside. I looked at the deadbolt, then at her. "Dinner," I said.
"Dinner?"
"I should warn you. I inspect kitchens. You already labeled my espresso machine a hostile appliance. I'm prepared." I stepped inside. She closed the door behind me. The bolt turned with a clean, heavy sound. The next morning did not feel like victory. It felt like paperwork. Real safety usually did. Nora met us at the courthouse with a binder thick enough to bruise a table. Devin joined by video from the firm, dark circles under his eyes, coffee mug balanced dangerously close to a keyboard. Vivian sat beside me on a wooden bench, both hands around the chipped ceramic mug she had insisted on bringing from home. "I look ridiculous bringing tea to court," she said. "You look prepared." "I look like a woman who doesn't trust courthouse vending machines." "That too." She gave me a narrow look. Then the courtroom door opened. The hearing was brief, clean, and procedural. Nora presented the emails, the printed guest credentials, the event footage, the IT header report, the police incident number, and Vivian's statement. The judge asked 3 questions. Vivian answered all of them herself. No trembling, no apology, no PR polish, just facts. The temporary protective order was granted before noon. Miller was barred from contacting Vivian, entering her property, entering firm events, or using third parties to send messages. The firm formally suspended all vendor access tied to his account and issued a preservation notice to his former employer. Outside the courthouse, Vivian stood on the steps, holding the order in both hands. October sunlight hit the paper. She read the first line twice. Then she folded it carefully and placed it in her bag. "Paperwork shouldn't feel like breathing," she said. "It often does." She looked at me. "You really believe that?" "I believe good paperwork is a door that closes properly." That earned the smallest smile. The deadbolt again. "The deadbolt is an excellent metaphor. Also an excellent deadbolt." She laughed, and this time the laugh did not break halfway through. 3 weeks later, the restraining order became final. Miller was terminated from all vendor lists, referred for criminal investigation, and barred from Vivian's home, workplace, and firm events. Devin completed the access audit. Nora closed the legal packet with the satisfaction of a woman who believed good documentation was a form of justice. Vivian's merger announcement went live without a single mention of personal drama. Her press team delivered the cleanest rollout of the year. At the internal debrief, the CEO looked at me and said, "Ruiz, that evidence chain saved us from a public mess." I nodded once. Vivian, sitting across the table, did not smile, but her thumb did not tap. That was better. After the meeting, she waited until the conference room emptied before crossing to the sideboard where I was stacking my notes. "The security contract is closed," she said. "Yes." "The legal hold account is active." "Yes." "Devin has the system." "Yes." "Nora says I am allowed to have a life again." I looked up. Nora said that? She said it in legal language. It was longer and less helpful. That sounds like Nora. Vivian picked up the chipped mug from the table. She had brought it to the debrief, though no one had asked why. "I'm cooking on Saturday," she said. "Is Mr. Hiss involved?" "Unfortunately." "Then the risk profile is significant." Her smile warmed slowly. "I'm asking you to come over because I want you there. Not because there's a camera alert. Not because a lock needs checking. Not because I need you to stand between me and anything." I closed the folder in my hands. The room went very quiet. "I'd like that." I said, "Good." She started toward the door, then paused. "And Marcus?" "Yes?" "If you bring a screwdriver, I'm making you leave it in the car." "That is unreasonable. That is a boundary. Cruel, but clear." She smiled like she knew exactly how much that meant to me. 6 months later. January snow covered the suburban street in a clean, white hush. I stood in Vivian's entryway, brushing frost from my boots, while the brass deadbolt gleamed under the porch light. No scratches, no gaps, no compromise plate. The house smelled like roasted garlic, cedar, and chamomile. From the kitchen, Mr. Hiss released a violent puff of steam. Hostile appliance active. I called. Vivian appeared in the doorway, wearing a soft navy sweater and holding 2 mugs. One was the chipped ceramic mug from the first night. She handed it to me. I updated the emergency contact form at HR today, she said. I paused. You did? Primary contact. In ink. In ink. The mug warmed my hands. I looked at the deadbolt, then at her. My life had been built around exits, locks, and failure points. I trusted steel because steel did not flatter you. I trusted logs because logs did not rewrite themselves to spare feelings. I trusted systems because people were variables. Then Vivian had taught me something harder. A door was not only something that kept danger out. Sometimes it was something someone opened after the danger was gone, because she wanted you to stay. The brass deadbolt clicked as the wind pressed against the house. This time, the sound did not warn me. It welcomed me home. The end. Closing thoughts. Core lesson. Real protection is not control. It is clear consent, honest documentation, and steady action that help someone reclaim safety without losing their voice. Green flag. Healthy love does not grow from fear, pressure, or blurred boundaries. It gives both people a choice, respects the exit, and stays only when staying is freely invited. Like plus subscribe. Please like and subscribe so we can share more stories like this.